Hello and welcome to Sports Fan Entertainment, here to give my preview and predictions for Cincinnati Bengals at Tennessee Titans Week 4 of the 2023 NFL season. I will actually be in attendance for this game. I have some friends coming into town. It's not like I necessarily picked this one and said that this is really a game that I want to go to, but they wanted to go, so I was like, okay, this will be my one or two games of the year. So if you happen to be there, I don't know if I'm going to do a meetup because I'm doing things with them. And we're really going to be showing up to the game a little later. But if you happen to see me, you always could feel free to say hi and whatever. So we have Bengals at Titans. And wow, we actually have some headlines to get to about this game. And one, not even about this game, but about this team. But we've had some significant headlines that literally in the last 2 hours. One of which is related to the injury report, so I'll get to that in a moment. But we also just had other news that just broke. Nicholas Petit-Frere will be reinstated next Monday because they revised the NFL policy when it came to gambling. The suspensions from 6 games to 4 games for, I guess those are the cases whenever you bet on another football game. I think that's what he did. So that's what they've done. So Nicholas Petit-Frere will be back in the fold next Monday. Now, as to what that's going to mean, I don't know. I'm presuming he will be right back as the starting right tackle for this team, and that's what I'm expecting them to do. However, with the current situation, what's going on with the left tackle situation, Andre Dillard, and with Chris Hubbard not being bad so far, not being great, I wonder if they're going to get a little creative. Now, Nicholas Petit-Frere, we've never played him at left tackle. We've never practiced him at left tackle. By the way, as far as I'm concerned, we haven't with Wisconsin either, except for maybe the rookie minicamp. But Nicholas Petit-Frere did play left tackle in his last year at Ohio State in college. Wasn't great pass blocking. I think he ended up giving up about 26 pressures, which is a lot, but only 2 sacks, which isn't a lot. Now, I guess you could also contribute that a lot to, that would have been CJ Stroud and his running abilities and some of the things that he did. Would have been CJ Stroud? Yeah, because actually, who started for Ohio State in 2021? Yeah, it was CJ Stroud. I guess you can copy a lot of that to CJ Stroud and, some of his a bit, but I mean, he's not even the most mobile guy. So that's something they could look at. If Andre Dillard continues to struggle, maybe Skoronski isn't the answer. Maybe the answer would be Nicholas Petit-Frere, kick him out to left tackle, leave Chris Hubbard in at right tackle, leave Peter Skoronski at left guard. So possibility that I just want to toss out there, but at the very least, I expect him to be back and start at the very least at right tackle. But if the issues continue with Dillard, they're going to have to do something. I mean, it's 6 sacks allowed now in 3 games. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's preposterous. You just can't keep that having. You just can't keep having that. So good to have him back. Luckily, the NFL, gave him back to us. Well, depending what you want. If you're not completely on the tank train, which some people are already. But yeah, good to have him back. But the other headline has to do with injuries, and let's go ahead and get to the injury report. The big name that you will note here, Treylon Burks is out for this game with a knee injury. Oh no. This is no good. Okay, Treylon Burks, who, albeit has he hit his potential yet? No. Was he a disappointment last week? Yes. Am I been a little disappointed with this season thus far? Probably. But not having him out there is definitely going to hurt for this team because you're in a situation where DeAndre Hopkins looks fine. The ankle doesn't look like it's bothering him too much, but he is on this injury report and he is a little banged up. Kyle Phillips is still on IR. Now, luckily, Chris Moore has actually been better than we thought he'd be. Or I don't know about that, actually. I think he's been about exactly what I expected him to be. But he's been able to make some plays. So you're talking about Hopkins, you're talking about Chris Moore, and then I presume Nick Westbrook-Akina, obviously. And then Mason Kinsey. But not great. I mean, that's not the greatest wide receiver core I've ever heard by any stretch of the imagination. And farther from that, by the way, thank the absolute gods that we signed DeAndre Hopkins, because if we were going out there this week with Chris Moore and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, wow, holy moly, this would be a guaranteed L. Now, it's not looking good already, but I don't think it's guaranteed. It would be absolutely guaranteed if we didn't have DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he's going to have a productive game as well as Chris Moore, but I think they can do it. They got to imagine they didn't even get Chris Moore, because it looked like they weren't even going to get him. It looked like they were just going to run Burks and Nick Westbrook-Ikhine and then whoever they drafted, and then they didn't draft anybody, to much of our surprises. Wow, this team. So we'll see how this looks. And Skoronski is still going to be out with appendectomy. Probably won't be able to come back until next week. So no Skoronski, no Burks, neither of our last two first-round picks on offense playing in this game. You hate to see that. Luke Gifford also out. Elijah Molden also out. That hurts the secondary, which has been struggling. So that's not good either. And Danico Autry is on as questionable with a groin. And oh my God, we definitely need him, because the only way we're winning this game is if we're able to harass and sack Joe Burrow, and quite consistently at that. We move on to the Cincinnati Bengals, where we have two main names as far as I'm concerned. And that is Irv Smith, the tight end. Looks like, yeah, he is going to be out for this game. But Joe Burrow, full participation for all 3 days. But the calf is still bothering him. He's still being very cognizant of it. He doesn't want to re-injure it or re-aggravate it, and it's very much so a possibility. It's happened already. So that's the big one that we're going to be watching. We're going to be paying attention to Joe Burrow on that ankle. How's he moving on that ankle? What's going on with Joe Burrow and that ankle throughout the entire game? Is going to dictate the result of this game. I mean, without a doubt, it's going to dictate the result of this game, how he feels on that calf and how he's able to perform on that calf. So with that said, let's go ahead and get into my tighten up keys to the game here. And let us begin with key number one, and that is related to what I just said. Harass Joe Burrow. You're going to have to harass him. I'm not saying injure him. I'm just saying harass him. Get after him. Get after the quarterback. Cause some problems. Cause some issues. Get him uncomfortable. He looked awful week one. Absolutely awful. The Browns did a number on him. Their passing offense was worse against the Browns than ours was. And God knows that's saying something. Okay, because my God, ours was awful last week. It was terrible. And yet theirs was worse. That offensive line is still very vulnerable. You know, they really need to revamp this offensive line. I mean, we've been saying this for years. I felt when they drafted Jamar Chase that they should have drafted Penei Sewell. Now, they got to the Super Bowl and they easily could have won it with Chase, so I guess it worked out. Maybe. Sewell's still doing really well as a right tackle for the Lions. And I just think, I don't know, I would be very interested to see if it was T. Higgins and Taj Boyd with a little bit of a better offensive line, if the Bengals would be in the same position or not. I don't know. I'm not convinced that's not necessarily the case. But surprisingly, Orlando Brown Jr., who they signed, the former left tackle of the Chiefs, he's struggling. He's not playing very well right now for them. Jonah Williams has always been a disappointment for them. Even now at right tackle, he's still struggling. Ted Karras, Cordell Volson. These guys aren't very good. So, Alex Kappa. So the one thing that we can absolutely do is harass them. Our pass rush has definitely been the strength of this team so far, combined with the run defense. Big Jeff Simmons doing what he always does in the meat of our defense. Danico Autry, who again, I mentioned earlier on the injury report, he's going to have to play. He's going to have to play. Okay, we're going to need him out there to get after the pass rush and do the things that he does. You know, we already know about the other guys on our Harold Landry getting more of his legs under him, Arden Key getting more comfortable in a Tennessee Titans uniform, but they're going to have to get after Joe Burrow. I mean, if we're going to have any shot at winning this game, he cannot be comfortable. If he's sitting in the pocket, we're not going to get pass rush, we're not going to win this game. But luckily, again, with limited mobility, this is a good shot. I mean, this is why the line is only -2.5 Bengals, because I think it's a decent line. I'm not saying we're going to win yet. I don't know. I haven't made my prediction yet. But this is why I think we have a decent shot, actually. I know everyone's gone ahead and thrown in the towel, But this could look very similar to our matchup last year, in which we easily could have won, didn't. Because, just the late game, the Bengals were able to do a little bit more than us, but we're able to get after him. We give Joe Burrow some problems. I know he's 3-0 against us, but all 3 games have been close, and I expect another one here. This is a game that Titans are going to be in, similar to the Chargers game to me, but I think a much lower scoring affair than that, because they're going to get some success rushing the passer against this Bengals front. And also, they're not run blocking well. Joe Mixon in the run game, it's dead. There's really no signs of life there. I don't know why they didn't seek to make any improvements in their running. I would have moved off Joe Mixon at this point. I think he's done. I don't think there's much more when it comes to Joe Mixon. I think he's tapped out in terms of his NFL talent at this point. I had to find, a peak, but I think he's done. And they're not getting much of their tight ends either. So this is an offense that's struggling. I know it's the Bengals, so people are afraid because, it's the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. But with his injury in this offensive line, the way they're playing right now, they're very susceptible. I mean, if I had to pick right now, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs this year. Now, I don't know if we are either, but I don't know if this is a certain playoff team that's coming into Tennessee and is going to do the things that some people are anticipating. But we move on to number 2, get the run game going. Okay, so for God's sake, last week it was absolutely awful. It's been mediocre at best all year. Really, no, it's been bad. It's been pretty bad. Like, we just had Derrick Henry doing pretty well in the first step against the Saints, and then outside of that, it's been non-existent for the most part. So we have to get this run game going. We're just not at the point anywhere close for the pass game to carry us. So the run game has to, okay? It still has to. Derrick Henry still has to be the guy, the engine that moves this offense forward. And right now he's not, and he's going to have to be. So get the run game going. As always for us, that is a big thing. And then win the turnover battle. Burrow's not real, well, actually, never mind. I take that back. I was gonna say he's not one of the higher intercepted quarterbacks in the league, but man, he kind of is. I think I'm pretty sure last year he had double-digit interceptions, so he's gonna give you opportunities to make plays on the football. And yeah, last 2 years he's had double-digit. Last year he had 12. The year before he had 14. So he's gonna give you opportunities to make plays on the football, and he has 2 interceptions already this year. And with the calf injury and his discomfort there, he's gonna give you opportunities to make plays on the ball. And then for us, we can't turn the ball over. I'm not worried about Derrick Henry doing it. I'm a little worried about Tannehill doing it. We know about the 3 interceptions that he had in week 1. Didn't have any the last 2 weeks, but only had 1 touchdown too. So, 1 passing and 1 rushing. So he's still losing the turnover battle himself. And, our defense, though, this year has been good at causing some turnovers. So I like that. Missing a hold in this game will be unfortunate, but Hooker and Fulton are still out there, and Fulton needs to have a bounce back game. Christian Fulton has not been playing well. It has not been fun to watch Christian Fulton this year. And again, he's going to lose his job here in terms of he's still probably going to start for us. Probably. I'm going to be very strong when I say probably. Start for us for the entire year. But whether or not he's still going to be a Tennessee Titan for years to come, I don't know. So that's something that people need to consider as well. But if he can make a couple plays on the ball, that'll start to mend some fences that he desperately needs to, because right now that is not going on. So my prediction for this game, I think it's going to be actually kind of close. I do think ultimately there's going to be a big play from T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, a couple big plays that it will happen in the fourth quarter and make this not very competitive anymore, and maybe a double-digit win. But with this team right now, and the Treylon Burks injury, it stinks. It really hurt. I felt much better before I knew that Treylon Burks was going to be out for this game. But now, again, I think Hopkins is playing well, and Chris Moore is actually doing fine. I don't know if it's enough firepower right now. Chig's not being consistent yet. Wiley is not doing anything. Our passing game is just not to the point to keep up with the Bengals right now. Even with how poorly Joe Burrow is playing, he's still moving the ball, at least the last 2 games, over 240 yards. Or 20 yards. And last week he had 259. They didn't play well against the Rams. And I'm expecting a similar performance to that. But I think the Rams are better than us right now. I think the LA Rams are better than us right now. And I think we'll put up a slightly worse effort than they did. So ultimately, I'm going to have the Bengals winning this game. Again, I think it's going to be a backbreaking Jamar Chase, T. Higgins play late. So I'm going to have the Bengals winning this 23-17. If this is bad, I'm not going to say tank yet. However, it'll be in the middle of my mind. It won't be in the forefront. It won't be in the back. It'll be in the middle of my mind. Then the next week is the Colts. That's the last game for me, to be honest. Like, that would be it for me. If we lose next week if we lose this game and then lose at the Colts, tank it. And I've been looking at some of these other teams, dog. And if you look at these schedules and you look at these teams that are tanking, we still have a good shot here. Like, I mean, if we want to stink, for Caleb, and that's still a possibility, with the Bucks already having 2 wins, with the Cardinals getting a win, with the Bears versus Broncos this week, and then next week, the Broncos versus Jets. The Broncos are still going to win a couple games to me this year. I think they're going to win this week. The Bears, maybe the Bears just stink. But no one's going 0-17 this year. I mean, there's only how many teams that are 0-3 right now? 4. And one of them doesn't even have their pick, and the Panthers. And the Panthers are going to win games as soon as Bryce Young gets a little more comfortable. There's only 4 on the winless teams. And the Vikings are going to win game. They're not going to go 2-15. It's not going to happen. Unless they just trade Kirk and Justin Jefferson and go all in. So if we lose the next 2 games, we got to tank. And I'll lead the ship on that. I'll lead the train on that. I'll lead it. And God knows if he lost to the Chargers, I'd already be leading it. But we won the game and we're 1-2. So we still have a shot. And look, I'm going to the game and I don't want to go to the game and spend $260 and cheer for us to lose. That's crazy. Why the hell would I do that? I'm going because I want us to win, damn it. But if we lose the next 2, get your tanks out. Because we're going to start talking Caleb Williams on this channel. We're going to start talking Michael Penix Jr. on this channel. We're going to start talking Drake May on this channel. That's what's going to happen if we lose the next 2 games. So this one, if we lose, don't panic. If it's bad, then maybe. But the Colts one, that's the big one. That's the big one that's going to determine, okay, are we tanking or not? Are we going to be a 2-win team or are we going to be a 6-win team? Or a 7-win team. I still think we can win 7. But we'll see. So that's my official prediction for the Tennessee Titans against the Cincinnati Bengals. What are your thoughts? Comment down below. I want to know. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and most importantly, to subscribe. Until next time, this has been MJ of Sports Fan Entertainment. I'm out. See you all later.